So back in my first video covering the disastrous Shin Ultraman Cleopatra Entertainment Blu-ray release, I showed some examples of other franchises that had been poorly treated on a certain release. And a lot of people asked, could you elaborate on that? And I think it's finally time to talk about these and why I think they're so bad. It's morphin' time! Hello, this is Soundout here, and on today's video we're talking about the worst Blu-rays I own. Now this is kind of an interesting topic because this is a totally subjective thing in a lot of ways, but objective as best I can be, though there is still a lot of personal opinion onto certain releases that we'll talk about where I'm thinking, you know, they could have been better. Now, in terms of what we're covering, it's going to be kind of a broad spectrum. It's not focusing in on a single franchise, but these are all franchise titles. If I really dug in and found the worst Blu-rays in the collection, there may be some that are not part of franchise, just one-off movie releases that are terrible. But when you have a big franchise, you're supposed to have big franchise money and, I don't know, give a crap about what you're doing. But a lot of these releases show the exact opposite of care. And so because of that, I thought those would be the best ones to highlight. However, we're not going to talk about everything that I think would qualify. So for example, let's talk about what we're not talking about. We're not going to talk about bad business practices like the Code Geass movies being limited edition steelbooks and never having a standard release, and the only re-release of these since has been in a $500 collector edition. Because, well, the releases are fine, it's just the way they were released and the lack of further releases that's the problem. We're also not going to talk about movies or shows that had poor releases in the past that got better ones later. I have a couple terrible copies of the original Ghost in the Shell film, but the Lionsgate 4K has basically negated those out. Since this is the most recent release, and the most recent release is a good release, we're going to go with we're good on the original Ghost in the Shell film. We're also not going to talk about Shin Ultraman because I did multiple videos on that, including the Cleopatra release, the corrections to the Cleopatra release, and then also the Canadian Raven Banner release. Though since this is still the only US version of the movie to exist on disc, it is still pretty bad, but go check out those videos for more detail. Also, while on that Shin Ultraman video, Ninja Turtles was an example, Ninja Turtles is a big-ass mess, and it's going to get a big-ass video. Look for it in November, because we're going to have to talk about the home video history of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because for such a big franchise, it's amazing that it's basically had no good releases. We're also not going to talk about any Dragon Ball, because that might be a whole video series at some point. A lot of people have talked about how poor the North American, and in general, Blu-ray and DVD and even VHS releases of Dragon Ball have been for multiple reasons, and I would love to dive into the topic myself, but I gotta find an angle that hasn't already been covered, and it also is a huge undertaking considering we're still getting releases that have problems, so one day we'll talk about Dragon Ball. So that narrows us down to these 5, and these 5 are going to be the subject of the video, and of course there'll be chapter times in the description in case you want to jump around, though I encourage you to watch the entire thing to see how, wow, there's some really rough stuff in here. And on that note, if you enjoy this type of video, please hit the like button, hit subscribe and the notification bell to keep up with future uploads on this channel, continue to help support us growing and doing more things like this, and leave a comment down below and tell me any terrible Blu-rays you own that you did not see in this video, because I'd love to know about more. There's probably some I've forgotten. These are just the ones that I've narrowed in on for this video. So let's begin taking a look at these with probably one of the worst that I've ever handled. So we're going to begin with Liberation Hall's Robocop The Series Blu-ray release. They also did a DVD of this. Neither are good. There is a lot to talk about with this release, not so much in what is actually on the discs, but as what is promised on the packaging. Sometimes you get straight up lied to by a company, and that is Robocop The Series. Let's take a closer look at that packaging and then look at what's actually on the discs. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Robocop The Series is well-loved or a beloved thing by any means. This release is more of a talk of false advertisement, because this was a Blu-ray release by Liberation Hall, a company who was doing their first video release. They were a music company, and this is the first time they were releasing something to video. That is concerning when that first got announced, for sure. There was a Blu-ray and a DVD release of Robocop The Series. The DVD release had video glitches and all kinds of errors, but was in the 4:3 aspect ratio the show was produced in. The Blu-ray has been cropped to 16:9 widescreen, which is a problem because the show was not shot for 16:9 widescreen. Dragon Ball Z Orange Brick flashbacks much. The other problem with this is that despite being advertised as a full HD restoration of the series, this is a VHS master, and I don't even think was upscaled. It's just, it looks like crap. We'll take a look at the discs in a minute. Another thing to add is that the bonus features are mentioned as like behind the scenes featurette. The Future in Law Enforcement, the History of Robocop, featurette. Featurette is a phrase that we use in the entertainment space, in the home video space, to talk about a video feature, a featurette. It's like a feature, but it's short, so it's a featurette. These bonus features are not featurettes, and we will look at those, and I'll show you what they actually are. It is an all-region release, which is nice. It's got covers A, B, and C. I do like the white clear case look, which is pretty nice. You can see the series is across 5 discs, so it doesn't have like compression problems. You get about 4 or 5 episodes a disc, which is, totally fine, honestly. The problem is, though, that this is not an HD restoration, and it's not even an upscale. It's a VHS transfer. So let's take a look at Robocop the Series on the actual disc. So here's the Robocop the Series menu. It's got, video playing. You got your play all, your episode selection, your extras. On the extras, you can see behind the scenes featurette. Let's click that. And then, of course, a featurette is a video, right? So it plays a video. That one's actually a video. Now, remember on the case, it says the Future Law Enforcement History Robocop. That is a featurette, just like how behind the scenes featurette was a featurette. So let's click that and see what we get as a featurette. And it's just text. Yeah, a lot of these are liner note pages, and essentially that's cool. And I like liner notes, and I like reading about stuff. But most of the bonus features on this set are actually text-based. They are not actually video-based. Only that first one is, and the toy commercial. It's kind of bizarre, but they use the word featurette, but they actually just meant a text feature. And text features are fine, just don't advertise it as a featurette. Also, very bizarrely, Disc 3, Disc 2, Disc 4, all the discs have all the bonus features on all of them. Why? I have no idea. They just decided to copy the extras onto every single disc. Doesn't this look like a nice, pristine HD image? Not at all like a VHS master that's been cropped to 16:9 for some reason. Yeah, this is what the show looks like. It's pretty rough. It's like, I didn't expect this show to have good masters, but it shouldn't be advertised as being fully restored in HD when it's not, and it shouldn't be in 16:9. 4:3 Blu-rays exist. It's totally fine. This just doesn't look right at all. And the opening credits are a great example of how cropped this is, because no one puts text that's going to get cut off at the bottom of the screen. It's horribly cropped, on top of looking really bad. Like, you don't even have to have seen the series to just know that this is not how it's supposed to look, because it's very clearly cutting off the top and bottom of the frame to make, zoom. It just zoomed in. It's zoomed in. I want to stop complaining about this, but this ruins the whole release. And considering the DVD isn't the proper aspect ratio but has video glitches, there's no good release. Now, when Saban Brands ended up buying Power Rangers back from Disney, they struck a deal that Shout Factory would get the previous seasons of Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin through RPM, and Lionsgate would get everything from Samurai onwards. Probably also to sweeten the pot for a forthcoming movie deal that would end up happening. And as part of Lionsgate's releases, they were mostly DVD only and split up a 20-episode season into multiple volumes like this was the early 2000s. But they did one single Blu-ray release of a complete season. And while the release itself doesn't have too many problems, this is a perfect example of how a company can screw something up right out the gate. So I might get some flack for this one, but Power Rangers Super Samurai, the complete season on Blu-ray, is kind of a crappy release. Let's talk about Lionsgate with Power Rangers. They were doing these volume things. This is a later example. Supercharged, they did 10 episodes on 2 DVDs. They typically did 4 or 5 episodes on a single DVD, and then eventually they would compile them into complete season sets like this. And these complete season sets were essentially just the 5 volumes, just slapped together. And I love how these have no numbers on them, so you just have to hope you got the right order. So this is how Lionsgate did things, and it was kind of annoying because Shout was doing complete sets and bundling multiple seasons together with their stuff. But one of the things they did kind of early on was they threw out this Blu-ray of Power Rangers Super Samurai The Complete Season. And this came out, I believe, at the same time the Super Samurai DVDs are wrapping up. And actually, I think this came out even before the episodes had finished airing, because I think it came out on, like, the last couple episodes came out on Netflix first, and they were on this Blu-ray, I think, before they aired, because Nick was taking so long. It was a weird time. But this release on the outside doesn't look bad, right? You know, you got your nice presentation, Power Rangers Super Samurai The Complete Season. Then you start looking into it a little bit closer. So first things first, it does have bonus features, which is nice. It's got a couple music videos and like a Ranger training video. It is presented in 1080p high definition, widescreen presentation, English 5.1 master audio. Video and audio-wise, fantastic. However, it's not a complete season. There's only 20 episodes here. It's missing the 2 Christmas episodes, and it's also missing the Clash of the Red Rangers movie, which could be argued as a separate release as the original DVD was, but that does take place during Super Samurai. So I would say it's missing the 2 holiday specials, because those are actual episodes in the series. The discs themselves are pretty good looking. You got 6 episodes on disc 1, the next 6 on disc, or next 7 on disc 2, and then the last 6 on, so I can't do math. 1 to 6, 7 to 13, 14 to 20 plus special features. The major problem with this release, outside of the missing holiday specials, which is an issue because Lionsgate also never released the Dino Supercharge holiday specials. At the time, they were releasing the holiday specials as separate DVDs. Then during Dino Charge, they put the holiday specials with the Dino Charge volumes. Then for Dino Supercharge, they did not include the holiday specials at all, so we're missing 2 episodes, in addition to the fact that we're missing everything after Ninja Steel. But the point is that this release was a problem because this didn't sell well. And why did it not sell well? Let's look at, first of all, it's missing 2 episodes. Second of all, why are they putting out the first Power Rangers Blu-ray of Super Samurai? Why not start with Samurai? Were we going to get Samurai? Would someone that wanted a consistent collection only collect Super Samurai on DVD to go with the Samurai DVDs? This was all questions that a lot of people had. Putting out the second season of a show on Blu-ray first, and then probably saying, I don't remember if this was officially confirmed, but I believe it didn't sell well, and then therefore we never got any further Power Rangers Blu-ray seasons from Lionsgate. That is almost worse than anything on the discs or what's missing on the discs, because this was so poorly handled and so poorly mismanaged that if they'd released Samurai first and then done Super Samurai next, that would have been fine. And even if the holiday specials were like a separate release with the Clash of the Red Rangers or something, that'd be one thing. But throwing out the second season, missing 2 episodes with no movie, and then not having any plans or any confirmation that Samurai was coming, or Megaforce for that matter, I think it killed the entire thing of having these nice Blu-ray sets for the seasons. Because, again, video and audio-wise, this set looks and sounds great. It's just missing 2 episodes, and because it was the first release, even though it's the second season, I think it kind of doomed the entire chance of us getting Blu-rays. Almost like Lionsgate was like, oh, see, we put out a Blu-ray and nobody bought it, and that's your fault, not ours. When it really is Lionsgate's fault. They should have planned this out better and actually made a complete season and also put out the first season of the show. And so on that is why I think this is one of the worst Blu-ray releases ever, because it's currently the only Power Rangers season we have on Blu-ray, and I feel like it damned us from getting anything else. To put some positivity back on this set, I really love the way the menu's laid out. You have a play all episodes, you have a setup menu. The setup menu lets you have audio in English, Spanish, or French, which is really cool, though only English is in 5.1. You also have menu options in case you wanted to mute the audio on the menu or adjust the volume on it. That's pretty cool. You also get your episode selection, and what's neat is that you can scroll through the entire series. So if you're looking for a specific episode and you don't know what episode or what disc it's on, if you pop in one of them, it'll give you the entire series loadout for that there, which I think is pretty cool, that it'll tell you what disc to switch to. And then for special features, on most of the discs, it's going to give you some like Lionsgate previews. And you have a bookmarks option. So if you want to bookmark certain scenes using your Blu-ray remote, you have that option, and then you can go to those specific scenes. So pretty well laid out overall. Again, it's really nice video, audio, menu presentation. It's just lacking 2 episodes that should be included. And then it's also lacking for the fact that it was just poorly released. It should have been the second release, not the first. As one of the most prominent and popular anime of the 2000s, Ghost in the Shell Standalone complex holds a special place in many people's hearts. Apparently nobody that worked at Anchor Bay Entertainment when they brought the series to Blu-ray. When you can say it was a disaster, it was really a disaster. For releases that are still in print, are still currently only available version of Ghost in the Shell Standalone complex on disc officially, and are still hanging around in clearance bins online and in some Walmart stores, what really is wrong with Anchor Bay's Ghost in the Shell Standalone complex release? Spoiler alert, it's a lot. So for all intents and purposes, this should have been much better. This is Anchor Bay's release of Ghost in the Shell Standalone complex and Second Gig. These are the 2 seasons of the classic series version of Ghost in the Shell. This is a well-loved classic, and I wish this wasn't still currently the only release that you can get of the show. It does contain all 26 episodes. It does contain English and Japanese audio. It is spread across 4 discs, so you don't have bad compression problems, putting about 6 episodes on a disc on average. If the discs would hold and these cheap spindles they put them on. Kind of a problem in general. There are no bonus features. There's no real supplementary material. You can see Second Gig also contains all 26 episodes. They are Region A hard-locked, so, you know, that's just kind of typical for anime. These releases sold for, like, stupid amounts of money. I remember when they first went up for order, they were like $60 a set, which is pretty awful for the quality you get. I paid about $12 a piece. But what's the issues with these sets, you might ask? Well, first things first, pet peeve, maybe, or just sheer incompetence, no chapter markers. Each episode is a separate chapter marker on the disc, so if you want to skip the intro or the ending to get to the next episode, you can't do that. You have to fast forward through it, because next chapter will go to the next episode. Second of all, the menus are terrible. We'll take a look at those and give you some examples in a minute. But one of the worst, most egregious things is, and this is pretty common, sadly, because I've run into this a few times, it does contain the Japanese audio, but it does contain English subtitles for the deaf and hearing impaired. They are English closed captionings for the English dub that play with the Japanese audio. I hate when this happens. It is not the same thing. As faithful as a dub as Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex got, it's not a replacement for actual translated subtitles. And then adding to this, the worst part of it all, there are audio glitches in both sets where you're watching the English dub, which is pretty much the only way you can watch this since the subtitle problem exists. If you're watching the English dub, in random points in some episodes, it will cut to Japanese audio out of nowhere. And it's never been addressed. There's never been corrected discs. Later printings have never fixed this issue. It is something, I don't know how it happened. It's an audio glitch issue for sure, and it's never been addressed, which means you don't have really a good way to watch the show on these releases. Because if you're watching the Japanese audio, as far as I know, it stays with the Japanese audio, but you have dub titles. And then if you're watching the English dub, it'll randomly switch to the Japanese audio at times. And that makes for an unsatisfactory experience. Video-wise, the presentation is fine, but the actual audio presentation and the subtitle presentation are pretty bad. But let's take a look at the discs menus itself and get a little closer look onto... I gotta show you guys the audio problem and hope YouTube is fine with it. So here's a standard disc menu for this. You got play all, setup, and episodes. If you scroll over to setup, you can click this, and then you can not read anything. They use the most generic font possible for audio and for the thing. It's defaulted to Japanese, which is really funny considering the dub titles, but you can switch it to English. Both are 5.1. Then you have the options of English or none for your subtitles, and it's really hard to read. And then if you go to episodes, you go to episodes here, you click episodes, and then you have just the tiniest text with the full episode titles on it, and it's so hard to read. So now I'm going to show you the audio glitch issue, and I'm going to try to make it as brief as possible and just hope things go well, and if in the future this section is just quiet, you all know why. But we're going to try it.
All personnel in position. Standing by. Go!
So as you can hear, Motoko is speaking English, and then Aramaki is suddenly speaking Japanese. And it's not a stylistic choice the way the live-action movie did it. That is an audio glitch, and that is not the only one on this set or either set. And it's a bummer because video audio-wise, looks good. It's just, you got an audio glitch, and it's never been addressed. So I just wanted to show Standalone Complex second gig, just so you know it's just as bad. Play all setup episodes. The text has gotten even more generic. Once again, your audios, your Japanese or your English, and then of course, once you select one of these, then your subtitles are English or none. The other thing to add to this is you, of course, have your episodes section. I don't know if I showed that on the other one, but anyways, once again, really tiny text. Now, this set has the funniest subtitles of all time. Also another glitch. The menu here is playing the theme song to Standalone Complex, not the theme song to Second Gig, so no work was put into this. And on top of that, you're about to see the most beautifully horrendous subtitles I've ever seen in an official release. You'd think this is what I was talking about. Yes, the subtitle captions, because they are captions for the hearing impaired that are put on as subtitles, has Origa's Rise plays. That's the song, Rise by Origa, and it's playing. So Origa's Rise plays. And then it gets funnier. The first lyric of Rise is, I'm a soldier, and it's in English, so they subtitled it there. So I was like, oh, okay, they're gonna put subtitles for the song. This is the funniest English subtitle I've ever seen in an official release. They do not sub the rest of the song, they just put singing in Japanese. They really did not care. And considering how well-known Standalone Complex is, they may have just cared because they thought people would buy it anyways. And that is ridiculous. Please, somebody rip this show away from Anchor Bay and get a better release out there. Because singing in Japanese is all the effort they put into this one. Another fun fact, this is how the subtitles look. Complete all caps bold font. And character names, I don't know how they got the spelling of Batou there, because officially it's B-A-T-O-U, and sometimes just B-A-T-O. I don't know how we ended up with this French pronunciation of B-A-T-E-A-U, but I don't know what the heck is going on with these subtitles. Now in 2017, Flatiron Films and New Video Group had been handling the Yu-Gi-Oh! License for 4K media. While their releases had been dub only, they'd been putting out nice consistent DVD sets of the seasons and had done Blu-rays for one of the movies. So naturally, they got to do the newest Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie, Dark Side Dimensions. Nope, that went to Anchor Bay instead, and based on how Ghost in the Shell went, you can start to imagine maybe some similar problems with this release. So this is a fun case of a release that sucks even after corrected, kind of like Cleopatra's Shin Ultraman. This was the newest Yu-Gi-Oh! Film, I believe it's the most recent. It was in 2017, The Dark Side of Dimensions. It was kind of a reunion. It was a new story by Kazuki Takahashi. It sort of works as a follow-up to the manga more so than the anime for several lore-related reasons, but this film was a bit of a reunion of the original Yu-Gi-Oh!, I believe tying into one of the anniversaries. This release is frustrating because it could have been easy to do. It's a modern film, subtitles already existed for the Japanese audio, and yet when this release was first put out, Anchor Bay Entertainment, like they'd done with Ghost in the Shell, just used the English closed captioning as subtitles for the Japanese version. Now this is a major issue because the Japanese and English audio have very big discrepancies between them. The English dub was a lot more streamlined, especially in the lore capacity and backstory stuff, so there's a lot of dialogue that's a lot different than the Japanese version. So while this release does contain both the English and Japanese audios, the subtitles on the first release of it were only the English closed captioning. Now they did do a corrected disc, which is what I have. I do have the correction. I kind of don't even remember getting the correction, to be honest, but I do have it. I did check. And it's nice that they did that, but I have no idea to confirm if they actually did a second printing with the corrected discs, or if it was just the first printing if you, went for it. Also, here's my movie tickets from when I saw it in theaters, because it had a one-time screening. So the thing is that this release itself is a bummer, because we had a pretty solid release of the previous film, Bonds Beyond Time, from Flatiron Films and New Video Group and Cinegym, who all did a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Releases. Like, they were doing all the shows. They actually released everything from Yu-Gi-Oh! To Arc 5, plus 2 of the movies, and that's pretty impressive for one company to do all that. Now, while they preferred the English dub versions and the only Japanese version we got was Bonds Beyond Time because there was no edits done to it, Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie, when it was released in Japan, had extra footage added, so it's a longer movie. But they mostly preferred stuck to the English dub, which is fine because that's probably the version most people in the US would know, and you know, you gotta hit the widest market. But they did do a really solid release with Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's a bummer that the only Yu-Gi-Oh! Release of stuff that's current that they didn't do was Dark Side Dimensions, because I think they would have done a better presentation overall, because I did like the way that Bonds Beyond Time and Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie turned out. But Dark Side Dimensions from Anchor Bay, it's not horrible, but it is kind of bad. If you get the corrected disc, there solves one of the biggest issues with the form of the subtitles. However, another big issue with this, and it's not an uncommon one, which is really a problem I have, the film is cropped. So the original Japanese Blu-ray and the original Japanese theatrical, and I believe even the US theatrical, was a 1.85 to 1 aspect ratio. And this Blu-ray does crop that down to a 1.78 to 1, a standard 16:9. The frames are actually all a little bit taller than what you would imagine they would be, and this version is cropped. And it's one of the things I can put against it because, well, they fixed the subtitles on the second version of the disc, but they still didn't fix the cropping. And that's a bummer because I think that cropping aspect ratios isn't something we need to be doing anymore. That's like old DVD times when you were trying to sell TVs off of discs. No one's doing that anymore, or even in 2017 when this came out. It's been a few years. And just cropping movies always feels wrong. Cropping TV shows feels wrong too, especially, you know, like we just talked about Robocop The Series being cropped. So it's a bummer. It's not a huge crop. It's not going to change the perception of the movie greatly. It's just something that I wish was corrected overall. But it's kind of a bit of a release where even if you exclude the fact that, you know, they fixed the subtitles, it's still got the cropping issue. And it's also got one of the weirdest looking menus I've ever seen. So as far as menus go, this one sucks. You got your nice image, which is partially cut into the text with the menu bar here. You have Play Movie and Special Features. Special Features, of course, will give you all the special features. And then Play Movie is also set up because when you hit Play Movie, you get either a original Japanese language with English subtitles, or your English dub version with subtitles off, or the subtitles for hearing impaired, which on the original version of this disc was the same subtitle track as the Japanese audio. You know what's lacking though? No scene selection. If you wanted to jump to the scene where Kaiba summons the obelisk or something, you can't do that. You have to just jump through it with the next chapter button. At least there are chapters, unlike Ghost in the Shell, where there's no chapter markers except at the end of every episode. It's just kind of weird that there's not a scene selection. That's a pretty standard feature. So the subtitles are these white font subtitles, and they're not the easiest to read all the time, but hey, they got the Japanese names in there, the dialogue matches. The second version of the disc actually has proper subtitles, where the first version only had the dub titles. But you will notice that the cropping means it fits my TV screen, where it should be a little bit taller because that is the original aspect ratio it was put in. Terminator 2 Judgment Day is one of the most iconic action films ever produced. It's one of James Cameron's finest and a favorite of many. So, of course, its 4K is naturally regarded as one of the absolute worst releases to ever exist and is said to be the worst 4K disc ever produced. While that may be a lot of hyperbole, especially from online fandom, let's dive into why the Terminator 2 4K is terrible and why earlier releases are going to serve you better. So the Lionsgate, yet again, and Studio Canal Terminator 2 Judgment Day 4K, it is so infamous at this point. And it sucks, it really does. There is a lot of problems with this release. So there's two discs included here. You got your 4K disc and your Blu-ray disc. Now, the Blu-ray disc does contain multiple cuts of the movie, whereas the 4K disc is only the theatrical cut, which sucks because I hate when you get a movie on 4K, but if you want an alternate cut, you only get it on the Blu-ray. There are bonus features carried forward from previous releases done by Lionsgate and others. But the biggest problem of this release and why people hate it so much is the 4K transfer that was done for it. There was two issues. First of all, this is scanned from the 3D version of the movie, which is not the original theatrical version and has some changes and some cropping issues. In addition to that, they have done a digital noise reduction job that has smoothed out all the cable in the movie. Everybody looks like a wax figure. Just no detail, no grain, nothing, which is absolutely terrible. And surprisingly, not a first for James Cameron. Or this was the first because he's done it again. A lot of the recent James Cameron movie 4Ks had the same issue where everybody looks like wax figures because all the grain has been taken away to try to sharpen the movie. And James Cameron approves of this. I don't agree with James Cameron in this case, but it's his movies, and I guess there's nothing really I can do about it. The other thing about this 4K release is the color grading is completely off, and the color tones of the movie have been completely changed, in addition to the fact the 4K is only the theatrical cut. This is not your close-to-film-like experience of the original movie, the way that 4K presents itself in a lot of cases. This is a modified version of the film that physically looks different than the original release of the film, on top of not having alternate cuts, especially the special edition that a lot of people love. So you're probably asking the question, is this worth getting still on a super cheap price? Not really, because you could get the 2015 version of the Blu-ray as seen here. That contains the theatrical and the special edition. It doesn't have the digital noise reduction issue, so not everybody's all smooth and waxy. And it does contain a decent amount of bonus features. That's the version to get. That's the best version of T2 as a single release. If you're wanting to find everything, you're going to need all the previous versions of the movie. And if you want to try to find that in one big thing, there is the Indo Skull set that contains all the bonus features of all the versions of T2. That's pretty much what you have to do to make up for the fact that there is no good 4K of this movie. Now, there has been rumors that James Cameron is working on a new 4K transfer, but based on how his other 4K transfers have gone, I'm not really looking forward to it if it's not going to look better than what we have here. It may just fix the issue of being done off of the 3D master as opposed to the original theatrical. But let's just take a quick look at the menus just for the sake, because why not? So since this disc actually originated in Europe, this is the order of options for your languages, and I think it's kind of fascinating, just because you usually see US on top, because that's how most companies operate, but it's nice to see that there's options. So the menu is totally passable. You got play feature, scene selection, setup. Setup gives you a bunch of options, including English, French, German, and audio description audio, and English, French, German, Latin American, Spanish, and no subtitles, which is pretty nice. But the first sign of trouble with the transfer on this movie is when you see the first thing you see after the Studio Canal logo is this 3D version has been produced by Studio Canal. What 3D version? This is a 4K disc. This is not a 3D release. What do you mean you used your 3D master for your 4K? That's not how this is supposed to work. It's really hard to put into words why this transfer looks off, beside from the fact that everything is blue, and also the fact that everybody's faces have been smoothed out so much they don't have any detail, but that the movie looks too sharp, too clean for the era it was produced in. This was a movie that would have had some grain to it, some intentional detail. Everything starts looking super fake because backgrounds don't mold with people very well. They look like they're on two different planes of reality because everything's been so over-sharpened to the point where you could cut your hand on how sharp it is. And I know it's hard to see because we're doing camera on TV because, you know, YouTube. But there's just like, it looks like there's an outline around Linda Hamilton, like she's in front of a green screen instead of a practical location. It's very frustrating because this movie is so finely and well-tuned and well-crafted, and this release of it and this transfer, which is currently the highest resolution transfer of it, just doesn't look like how it should and how this movie should be presented. So while all 5 of these releases range from truly terrible to passable but poorly managed, it does show that while we do love physical media and why physical media typically is better than digital media in a lot of ways, sometimes there is some things lacking from physical media releases. And it's something I always want to talk about. I do talk about all the good stuff. Discotech does amazing things, and there's a lot of good things that are done with physical media, but sometimes things are rough, and then sometimes they can lock up the licenses to some of this media, and you're stuck going, man, why can't we get something better? And unfortunately, with all of these, there currently isn't anything better. But maybe one day there will be. And until then, we will have to see. So if you want to stick around for that journey, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss out on future uploads. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this, and leave a comment down below telling me anything, your thoughts on these releases. I know probably putting Power Rangers Super Samurai on here is going to be controversial because it's not a bad release in and of itself. It's just a poorly conceived one in the grand scheme of things. And that sometimes is almost worse than the release itself being bad. But in general, I think it's an interesting conversation to have. Also, if you'd like to continue the conversation, you can join us here on this YouTube channel every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern to discuss Blu-ray news, comic news, toy news, and more. Also join our Discord server to discuss all those topics as well. You can join in the link below. Free to join, come hang out, join our community. If you'd like to help support the channel directly, you can join as a channel member and you get perks like early access to videos, member-exclusive live streams, and special shoutouts. Let's give some special shoutouts to our channel members now. Special shout out to all of our channel members, including our Captain Tiers, Spin-54, Toma K, Master Bin 95, Jamie's World, Jack Move Johnny, Yukio Sayuki, Michael Flores, Steel, Aaron, Rabbitman, Shigs, Jess Hood, Vigo, Common Pikachu, Geets, Andy Stutz, Joy-Con Girl, Dazagno, and Ben Odinson. Thank you all for your support of this channel. If you so wish, I'm on most social media platforms at Soundout12. My awesome graphic designer is on social media and Discord at DarkClaws643. And you can find Hero Club at hero-club.com for entertainment news, interviews, reviews, and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.